back in August of 2021, Lupe Fiasco set out to record an entire project in 24 hours, which eventually got turned into 72 hours because, man's got to eat and sleep and rest his vocal cords. So instead of 24, up to 72. Still really impressive. And, since then, all we've really heard is that this album's coming out at some point until we got the first couple singles, Autobotto and Drill Music in Zion. And now, on June 24th, 2022, we have the whole album, Drill Music in Zion. And over the past 24 hours or so, I've given it a handful of listens. So, we got to talk about some things. First things first, this isn't going to be a full breakdown or analysis of the project. It's mostly just touching on some of the major themes and ideas that he brought up. And hopefully, it sparks some sort of conversation because Lupe Fiasco is always one of those people that is his music you have to really take some time with and really understand. So, if y'all have other opinions and other thoughts, definitely bring it up in the comments below. So, with the project, the first place to look at, just like every other project, is the title, Drill Music in Zion. So, drill music is a subgenre of hip-hop that is primarily based in Chicago, New York, and the UK. I mean, other areas can do it as well. It's not like they're not allowed to do it. It's just that's where we typically hear it from. And drill music in general, just like hip-hop, can glamorize, you could say, certain aspects of the culture, like violence and gang activities, a little bit more. So, that's kind of the main focus there. Now, the other part of the title is Zion. Zion is typically thought of as, I believe, Jerusalem, which, is a holy city, essentially. But in this case, it could be thought of as Chicago, which, would make sense because that's where Lupe is from. But it could also be just hip-hop in general, because drill music and hip-hop, there's a lot of crossover, like hip-hop in general. Like, drill music has a lot of the same aspects that you'll hear throughout other subgenres of hip-hop. So, you have similar sounds. So you can kind of think of hip-hop as like this area or location sort of thing. So you're getting this very typically aggressive sounding music in a place that's meant to be holy. So there's this weird like juxtaposition of like there's good and bad. So that's a lot of things that I feel Lupe touches on in this project. As we go through the project, the first thing that we hear is an intro from Aisha Jacko, Lupe's sister, who you've probably heard of or heard from on some of his previous projects. And she does a really good job of introing the project and kind of breaking down what drill music is in this sense and like what it means for different people in different areas. And, that kind of brings up the main point of the project, I feel. And that is all these rappers and just artists in general are talking about all these like typically violent things, and they're kind of glamorizing it. And both Aisha and Lupe throughout the project mention like all these things, and they're like, why are we talking about this? Like this, why are we promoting it essentially? Like there's other things to rap about, which is a conversation I've had with multiple people in the past. And I believe when I was talking to Brookfield Deuce about it, like that was another thing that got brought up. Like there's all these things that you could be rapping about aside from just these stereotypical rap stuff. So I feel like that was a major part that they were trying to get into. Now with the title of that track, The Lion's Den, it's spelled with two E's. So when I looked it up, the two E's in Arabic means religion. So that kind of ties back into Zion. You have this kind of holy idea, holy place, and something aggressive. Then the Lion's Den is typically also thought of as something aggressive. The Lion's Den in this case could be, again, Chicago, or just wherever drill music is prominent. It could be, like I said, pretty much anywhere. But by making it, like if we take it to be religion instead, these lions who, I guess, popularize and glamorize drill music and that sort of culture, like this is their religion. So it's interesting. I there's another way you could think about it, I'm sure, but that's kind of where I took it at first. As we go through the rest of the project, like I mentioned, Lupe is going to bring up many different examples and kind of reasoning with people like, yo, maybe we shouldn't be talking about all this. But, just because I'm not going to go through the whole track list and break everything down, these are just major ideas that I'm kind of seen. We go through the album and he brings back the Carrera Lou moniker that we got from way back in the day on Autobotto, which is actually really appropriate because Carrera is a vehicle and Autobots and cars. It all makes sense. But it's also very appropriate because drill music is typically that more, I guess, not fun sounding, but like it's a different style than what Lupe would be rapping about rapping normally. So this is typically the more extravagant, more loose version of Lupe. So it makes sense to have that Lupe included. A couple tracks later, we have Kiosk, which it's really, it makes so much sense because, it's talking about a kiosk in the middle of the mall. It's also halfway through the track list at number 5 out of 10. It's also talking about all these people like just trying to sell things to better themselves in some way. So it also, like, it all just kind of ties in together, As a middle track, it's pretty good. Then we get Miss Mural, which honestly I'm going to have to listen to way more because if you've listened to the original Mural and Mural Jr., you know that this is where Lupe just goes insane and just raps continuously. Personally, I feel like the original Mural is still going to be the best one. I mean, how's Lupe going to rap or top rapping for 9 minutes straight? Like, anyways, there's a few other highlights like Naomi. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember what its main subject matter is, but I do enjoy it. Then the title track, Drill Music in Zion, which has one of my favorite choruses just because it keeps getting stuck in my head. It's just super smooth, and throughout the project, as well as on this track, we're getting a lot of jazz instrumentals too. So Lupe's just loading on these beats. Like, it's super easy for him. It's just like another day. And then this brings us to the final track on Phoneme. Now, this track is a great outro and parallel to the intro track because it directly talks about the same things that we just discussed. It's talking about drill music and just hip-hop in general because, hip-hop is a genre full of braggadocio. We want to hear people talking about all these things they did and all their accomplishments and just, super macho things, essentially. But at the end of the day, it's not really something we need to hear, Like, yeah, it sounds cool, but by saying all these things in your songs, like, what sort of effect is it having on people who listen to it or people who are, from a similar area as you and listening to it? Like, I feel like those people, like, and this is me speaking personally, like, I feel like the people who are from that area or from your area and they're hearing you rap about these things, they'd be more inclined to, try to follow what you're doing. And then the biggest thing for me to take away from on Phoneme is the first verse, which is just rappers die too much. That's it. That's the verse. Which, when you've just listened to Lupe rap hit just all the way through, giving you an insane amount of bars, for him to just say, that's all I gotta say. It's very, like, it makes it feel even more important. I mean, obviously, him saying rappers die too much, that's it, that's the verse. It's important on its own because we have seen so many rappers die for really no good reason. Like, there's never a good reason for someone to die or get killed because, I mean, that's really what he's saying. Like, rappers get killed too much. And I don't know that there's any way that it can be avoided, really. Like, I mean, to some level it's going to happen, but is it because we're glamorizing all these, I guess, more negative behaviors and just making it feel like, oh yeah, that's the thing to do. You should go out and kill someone. Like, is that why it's happening? Or is it for something else? Like, there's so many things to do, like, to it. Like, personally, like, the biggest, or not personally, but like, I feel the biggest issue for a lot of rappers nowadays, like, once they start getting big, they don't necessarily get out of the hood. They tend to remain where they are, and by doing so, you know, people will get jealous, or people will be like, "Oh yeah, you're just around. You don't have any bodyguards. You don't have anyone with you. We can just get you. Like, it's easy." And you know, there's like that's one thing that possibly could be avoided. Obviously, not every rapper is going to be lucky enough to do that, because there's times where they're just starting to pop off, and you know, they haven't really got a lot of money, but they're getting attention. And because, you know, they've got this attention, they're probably rapping about whatever the hell they want to rap about, whether it be real or not. And if it's not real, they're going to get pressed on it for sure. And if it is real, they'll still get pressed on it, but you know, there may be a little more hesitation. This is me just speaking from out of like just my thoughts in general. Another thing that Lupe said on this track was something along the lines of him saying, like, I wouldn't even, like, is it better if you lie about it? Like, maybe, you know, because like, this has been a thing that other rappers bring up, like, oh, you just lie about what you do in your lyrics. And maybe, like, even if you lie about it, is that really better? Because, like I just alluded to, like, if you're lying about it and you're still in the hood, you know, you may be an easier target, because people may be aware of what you are capable of, and that you're not really about it like that. So, you know, there's so many possibilities. That's the whole album, though. Like, my general thoughts of it. I feel like I rambled on a little bit longer than I expected to, but there's obviously way more to it. It's Lupe. He's known to be very in-depth and dense. However, I will say with this project, it's way more accessible than his, like, Drogas Wave, for sure. Like, Drogas Wave, like, it's a really good album, but it's not easy to dissect and get into right away. But, you know, that's going to be the case with a lot of his projects. You have to listen to it a lot to really fully understand what he's trying to get across. But I think the main theme here is, you know, talking about drill music, but also hip-hop in general. Like, drill music is easy because it's very much like about the violence, at least generally speaking. So it's like, okay, well, we can pinpoint where it's coming from. I feel like he could just expand it to hip hop in general, but you know, Drill Music in Zion sounds like a dope album title, so I don't blame him for leaving it at that. This album's probably going to be in rotation for a while now, and I would be very surprised if it doesn't make at least my top 10 list. I'm sure it'll make other people's lists, so definitely check it out if you haven't. If you have, though, let me know what you thought of it, and if any of my rambling nonsense made any sense. I could be pulling at straws. He could just be rapping to rap, but that's not really what Lupe does. I could also just be entirely wrong about something. So if that is the case, you know, let me know. I'd love to learn about it. Aside from that, just talk about how you feel about the project and what other themes that may be coming up for you. While you're down there, if you've made it this far and you haven't liked and subscribed, why don't you do so? It's free and it helps the channel out. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.